Ezekiel is 13. He's growing out of that boy stage into that man stage. And Dan and I are like, how do we help craft this young man to be all that he could be? So when I got a text message from a friend of ours inviting us to go out to Alaska with him, his son, a couple other dads and their sons, talk about how does a boy transition to becoming a man, I was like, heck yeah, this is what we need.
As soon as we got there, they stopped the boats like 50, 60 meters from the shore. And Connor, the guy leading it, he stood up in between the two boats and he said,
all right, guys, we've got a little tradition here at the Quarry Project that it kind of christens our time here. So a lot of you guys came from home back down south where things are, let's just say, pretty easy. And you're leaving something at home, back home, and does anybody have any idea what that might be? What are you leaving at home?
Comfort.
Whoa! It's a pretty good answer, man. You're leaving comfort at home. You're leaving ease at home. You're leaving a lot of stuff at home that you won't have up here. And one of them, like Mr. Ben said, is comfort. And what you guys will be stepping into is a week of what may seem pretty difficult, okay? And to christen that, you guys will be swimming to shore instead of boating to shore.
That's what I was thinking, like, okay, this is going to be a good trip. He's going to be stepping out of comfort into discomfort and doing some hard things.
Oh my God!
While they were asking the young men to do all these hard challenges, I had to push through one of the most difficult things I've done in a very long time, and that is we together, but I did with them a hike, like 10-mile hike, 2,000-foot elevation climb from the base of a mountain above the tree line up to the rocks. And that would be difficult for most people anyway, but I was doing it on a third of a leg that I just had ACL surgery on my knee, the ligament that holds your knee together. Just been replaced about 12 weeks prior, and so I was wearing a big brace on my knee, and that was a challenge. But I pushed through it because one thing I kept telling myself was men do hard things, and I want this to be an example, not just for me, but also for you, of we do hard things.
the hike was really tiring, and my legs hurt so bad while we were doing it.
You were glad I was taking breaks. You're like, I'll blame it on Dad. Like, yeah, Dad, we need to rest again. Wink, wink.
The breaks were good, even though I didn't have any reason. It's everyone else taking the breaks, and I like the breaks too.
Yeah.
1/4 of the group actually got to the top. I was in that group, and so we actually got to the very top, and then we hiked all the way down and past everyone else that had already headed on their way down. And then once we reached like 1 mile left of the hike, we ran the last mile back to shore.
Four, 3, 2, 1, go! Here, pull it up higher, pull it up higher. No, got it. Pull it up on the beach, pull it up on the beach.
Every morning we had canoe races at 7:30. So for the canoe races, you would have to flip the canoe. There'd be a paddle under it. You'd have to put it into the boat, and then you'd have to push the boat into the water until there's about like this much space or less of the canoe on the lane, and then you could jump in. And they had like a buoy way out in the water. You had to go around the right side of it and then come back and then get out of your boat, pull it back up onto the land, and then flip it and put the paddle underneath of it. You do it once a day by yourself, and then you do it once with the other young man in your cabin, and then you do it once with your dad.
Ezekiel and I missed out on the father-son record by, 3 seconds? To the father and the son, who's our friends who invited us to go. So I guess it's okay we let them win that one. I think we would have had it, actually. It was just my bum knee. I had a hard time getting in and out quickly enough and flipping it over. But you won with your friend the fastest record for the young man duo.
Mm-hmm.
You got a little paddle trophy, and you put your name up on the record board.
Yep. On the last day, they had a wooden board up against the shed that had the life jackets in it. And so anyone who won an award for the canoe races would get to write their name up on the wooden board. And so now mine is up there with my friends.
While we were out there, they took the time to teach these young men some skills that you could really use when you're out there in the middle of Alaska, such as...
When we were chopping wood, it was me and my friend. He went for his first swing and split it right in half. And then when it was my turn, it took me 20 tries at that one piece of wood to get it to split. And even after when I did split it, I hit it, but then it didn't even split. When I pulled the axe out of it, that's when the wood fell apart. So it wasn't even fun.
Anticlimactic. But your piece was much bigger and thicker than his was, too.
Yeah.
So there's that.
We also got to back up trailers while we were there. We had just a little Kubota tractor, and it went 2 miles an hour. And so backing it up, going full speed, you were just inching along. So it was pretty easy not to mess up on that, because they also had a pretty tiny trailer on that too.
Good visibility. You can see exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. It was good to actually have success in backing up the trailer. Using the chainsaws was fun. I had used one before, but we gotta use them for a longer time there, and it was just fun, just getting the big piece of wood and just cleanly splitting it, and just seeing the sawdust fly out. I like that.
One of the things I really appreciated is that the Quarry Project wanted these experiences to be bonding experiences between the father and the son. And so while I was back in the main camp doing some training on how to grow sons into men, you and the rest of the young men went on ahead and set up this campsite at another place on this lake where the salmon were swimming, and you guys got our whole camp set up. And so by the time us dads arrived there by boat later, our tent was there. You guys had everything done. It looked great. You guys did a good job. And then they taught us how to do fly fishing, which I had never done before.
I haven't fly fished ever before either. And so they showed us how to do it. Instead, we went out and tried to do it, and we could not get it at all correctly. We kept failing. So we went out away from everyone, and then we had to walk back to everyone and ask them to teach us one-on-one how to actually fly fish correctly.
We didn't catch anything, but a couple other people caught some salmon, and we had more than enough salmon to go around for the whole group. Cooking salmon on a fire out on a lake, oh my goodness, it was just so delicious. And even seeing rainbows pop up from the rain and things, it was just beautiful.
Love's like a hurricane, I am a tree.
While we were out camping, they had one jet boat that they had a jet engine on the back, and it would shoot water out the back to motor the boat instead of a propeller. And so they would take one cabin at a time out on the jet boat. And so we got out last, so it was drizzling on the jet boat, and we were going around the turn super fast, and the river was shallow, and we were just drifting on the river. And while we were out there, we saw a black bear standing next to the water, and that was cool to see. we all stopped and like yelled, "Oh look, it's a bear!" And then it ran away from us, which is kind of sad. But we kept going, and we found a bunch of salmon on the bottom of the river. They thought that they couldn't find any more salmon, so they thought we wouldn't be able to fish. We'd just go on the boat ride. But we stopped and started fishing for the salmon. And one of the dads actually caught one of the salmons while we were out there.
I hooked one, but it got off and took my hook with it. So I got another hook, and then I hooked another one, but that one got off the hook, so I didn't actually pull it all the way in. Which still, like, I'm not really that much of a fisherman, so just hooking them was kind of exciting. I think one of my favorite parts about the trip was when they put us on a boat. They gave us nothing but a tarp, a lighter, and some string. Dropped us off, just the two of us, on our own island, and said, "Hey, you got the day. It's raining, but and they sent us with a lunch too, I guess." Yeah. It was fun. Not just scouting out the island and finding a place to set up a shelter and getting a fire going, getting out of the rain and things, but we had a lot of good time to talk. And they gave us some questions to discuss with each other that were helpful and kind of kicking things off. But it was good just to hang out there and think and have a day to just connect.
Yeah, I liked having our own day on the island for 8 hours by ourselves on an island. We get to build our shelter, go find firewood, get the fire started, and keep it running the whole time. A couple times it almost went out since we didn't have enough firewood. And it got really smoky too. Like we had to get out and stand in the rain a couple times because the smoke was just in our faces.
There's a couple things that I wasn't really ready for when we were up there. I was a little surprised. And one is that it's just daylight the whole time, except for maybe like 2 to 3 a.m. But other than that, it's like midnight, and it still feels like it's, getting late afternoon kind of thing. But that aside, like our main mode of transportation to get everywhere was boat and these little airplanes. And so our last day there, our flight wasn't taking off until a little bit later. So we got on a boat, did another fun boat ride out to this little hike we did to see this amazing waterfall.
It looked like soap almost, was how white and fluffy it looked. And then after that, we got to go up to the top of it, and we took some cool pictures at the top of it with the waterfall behind us and all the steam.
That is not a very white and fluffy water. That was dangerous. One little slip, but thankfully our guides were there and they do a good job warning you and telling you what's safe and what's not. But they did a good job telling stories of how powerful the water is and the consequences of that. And I think those stories were effective, thankfully. But there is something cool, though. Even for me, I'm not 13 anymore, but to be that close to something that's really dangerous and could literally take your life. And just like stand there and look at it, There's something primal just comes up, and you're like, "That's powerful. It could kill me. I'm standing right here just staring at it," So maybe it's just me, but I enjoyed it. I think the climax of the trip really culminated on the last night, and what I had been working on, and they, thankfully from the Quarry Project, have been helping me work on, was this blessing that I was going to say over Ezekiel. Ezekiel Ryan Schmoyer. And so very proud to be your father. From the day I found out that your mother was pregnant with a boy, I was excited to have you join our family as my firstborn son. And that was heavy. It was a big project, but I believe everything I said. And when I have the opportunity to sit up in front of the other dads and guys with you and say this blessing over you, it was impactful.
But no matter what happens, know that I am proud, honored, and excited to journey forward with you into manhood. I love you. I will always, no matter what, I will love you.
For me to even think through what are the things I want to pass on to you that I feel like I can pass on to you and bless you with. But I was also just kind of overcome with just like how proud I am of you and who you're becoming and the way I saw you and still see you, but lean into all those things and I said over you. I'm curious how you you and I haven't talked about this part yet of like what that meant to you or didn't mean to you or what you've thought about since then.
That meant a lot to me. Just like hearing you say that and like having the video of it and you giving me the book that I can just read it over. It meant a lot to me. I really appreciated it. And yeah, it probably helped me a lot too.
Good. We did a lot out there, way more than we can pack into this video. But one of the things that stands out the most to me in terms of things that I learned personally about being a father is they challenged us as fathers to get out in front of some of these things for our sons are going to experience when they're growing up. They said that your son's going to have all these firsts, and it's best if you can get there first. Things like his cell phone, his first shave, his first girlfriend, his first breakup, how he gets exposed to certain things, his driver's license, exposure to, just his first job and like all these things. How do we as dads get out in front of those things and intentionally lead our sons into those things rather than just reacting to whatever happens as they're just kind of bumping into it themselves? And that conversation is probably one that I have been thinking about ever since then. I've talked about it with my wife. I have lots of notes on it here that I was taking while we were out there. And so, yeah, just like what are the firsts he's going to experience in his life and how do we get out ahead of them before he bumps into them and help set him up to navigate those things well? That was a really helpful conversation for me.
While we were there, they talked about the 5 shifts of manhood. The first one, ease to difficulty. It's like when you're a boy, you want everything easy. When you become a man, you're going to have to do some difficult things. Second one was from self to others. So when you're a boy, you're going from like self and like needing everything. And when you become a man, like giving to other people too. The third one is from whole to a part. So it's like when you're a boy, you think you're like the whole story. And then when you become a man, you realize that you are part of God's story. Shift number 4 is from control to surrender. And so like when you're a boy, you like think you need control over everything. And then when you become a man, you need to surrender to God and let Him be in charge of you. The 5th one is temporal to eternal. So like when you're a boy, you focus on like temporary things and you're only working for temporary things. When you become a man, you start to focus more on eternal things and stuff that has a bigger impact.
I really appreciate what the Quarry Project did with that time that we had there. It wasn't like a rite of passage where it was like you're a boy and now somehow you're automatically a man. It was more of an invitation to manhood. It was encouraging the young men to view their teenage years as an apprenticeship to becoming a man. And then also training us dads to how do we raise young men to be good leaders and good fathers and husbands and entrepreneurs and leaders in our communities and things like that. So it wasn't like everything I could ever possibly need to know about it, but they gave us a lot in the week that we had there, and they gave you guys a lot too. And so I'm excited for the foundation that they gave us, and looking forward to seeing how this continues to grow and flourish over the next 6 years you have in your teenage journey ahead of you. I think the fruit that comes out of this will be really amazing.